Hi everyone, it's Adiola. Welcome to my channel. For those of you that don't know, Squid Game is a Korean Netflix series that has recently taken the internet by storm. To loosely summarize the show, imagine the Hunger Games, but it takes place in Korea, and instead of fighting for your district, it's a bunch of desperate people deep in debt fighting to the death to win 45.6 billion won, which converts to about 39 million US dollars. The show currently ranks #1 on Netflix in over 90 countries and has quickly built a cult-like following. This viral success has also brought the main actors of the show a sudden influx of fans, one of them being model and actress Hoyeon Chung, who became Korea's most followed actress on Instagram almost overnight. Of course, when you get new followers on Instagram, people tend to scroll back on your feed to get to know more about you. Unfortunately, this opened a can of worms as Hoyeon had posted multiple photos from runways and her personal life, donning black hairstyles from box braids all the way to cornrows. If you're into fashion, you probably remember the mess that was Marc Jacobs' infamous Spring 2017 fashion show, where he had his majority non-black models walk the runway in rainbow locks, citing film director Lana Wachowski as his inspiration. This, plus Jacobs' ignorant response, sparked a huge conversation about fashion's long history of exploiting black culture for profit while not giving black people the opportunities to thrive both inside and outside of the industry. It's nearly impossible to read an article about cultural appropriation in fashion from the past 5 years without seeing an image from that show. So finding out that one of the internet's new favorite stars was among the faces at that show was definitely jarring for a lot of people. This was not Hoyeon's only instance of participating in fashion's misappropriation of black culture, which leads to another conversation about the part Korea plays in all of this. South Korea is no stranger to the commodification and misappropriation of black culture, with their $5 billion K-pop industry being built off of it. Korean's fashion industry is not innocent either. Just like American designers, Korean fashion brands use black culture for their clothes while excluding black people from their shows. And it's not because black models aren't available in Korea. If you ask a black model in Korea, they'll tell you how often their white peers are chosen over them simply because of their skin color.
Even Korean celebrities, right, want to have really pale snow-like skin, sometimes on the scary side. A little color is not bad. The blood running through our veins is also colored, just to let you know. Yeah, I'll just say that. If you have certain features that are really deemed beautiful here, then you have a bit more of demand. If you are a bit different, like I am, it really does depend.
More people are becoming interested in this particular field of work in Korea. And if you are someone of the Caucasian ethnicity, then it'll definitely be easier for you because Korea prefers more of a paler skin, fairer skin kind of look. Certain people, have pale skin. They get more advantages, or, they're looked at as if they're just the most beautiful thing in the world. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's the way the Korean entertainment, the Korean modeling industry is set up. So if you are a Caucasian person, then most likely you'll be getting like a main role. You'll be kind of like the front and center. If you're blonde and blue-eyed, even better, because you'll be like the focus of everything, besides the main star who would usually be Korean. But if it's a mostly foreigner shoot, you're definitely going to be the star. So it is what it is. And if you're just Caucasian in general, you will probably be the main model. And I guess that's some good privilege there, but it's what they prefer. It's what they like.
Even half Nigerian, half Korean model Han Hyun-min has spoken about designers telling him they wouldn't work with him because he was black. Brands have explicitly told his agent they don't work with black people and prefer white people with blue eyes and blonde hair. It was only a few months ago that black editorial nail tech Telly called out Vogue Korea for allegedly ripping off her design. This just goes to show that the Korean fashion industry is far from exempt when we have conversations about the exploitation of black culture. When people recently called out the Squid Game star for the misappropriation of black hairstyles, just like all of the other known models who were called out 5 years ago, her fans attempted to shield her from the critique, alleging that she had no choice and therefore shouldn't be held accountable. But this argument fell flat once footage of Hoyeon choosing to get cornrows on her free time surfaced, giving a backstory to another one of her Instagram posts.
저희 지금 굿다이 지역으로 이동하고 계시고요. 저희가 이제 첫 번째 일정은 이제 머리 콘레드. 콘레드를 이제 따고
너무 해보고 싶었어.
너무 해보고 싶었어요. 찌찌찌. 자, 들어갈까요? 대박. We want color it. Color. So how much?
100. 100 for one. Dollar? Yeah. Huh?
$100?
No. Rupiah.
Rupiah. 정답. 오, 괜찮은데?
괜찮아.
괜찮아?
괜찮은 건가?
조금 흔들어. We are four.
One is man. Yeah, so short hair.
350.
Cat? No cat.
Okay?
Already cheap price.
오케이.
오케이.
그러면 이제
One by
그거
one.
대신 이쁘게 달라고 하면 어떻게 해야 되지?
pretty girl.
So pretty girl.
남일이 아니기 때문에 그게 돼 지금. 아니 근데 일단 우리가 서핑을 해야 되잖아? 그쵸.
서핑.
예약을 안 했어.
모드를
한국인이 운영하시는 서핑샵이 있어. 그러니까 너랑 진경이랑 머리 따는 동안 나랑 승준이랑 돌아보고
갔다 와야지.
그래서 예약을 하고 오는 게 나을 것 같아. 알겠어.
Hoyeon, who speaks English, must have seen the criticism somehow because soon after this video was reposted from YouTube to Twitter, where it garnered about 100,000 views, the photo of her in the cornrows very quietly disappeared from her Instagram page. With the growing popularity of Korean entertainment across the globe, critique from global audiences is expected. While replying to some commentary about Squid Game, columnist John Lee said, "The world might be swooning about K-pop and K-dramas, but anyone who has spent any time in Korea will be able to tell you that, like any other society in the world, South Korea grapples with racism, and Korea has a severe anti-anyone with a darker pigmentation racism problem." With Korean entertainment being exported globally, it's important to be mindful of the anti-blackness being exported along with it. A few months ago, a very popular Korean drama called Penthouse was caught up in controversy due to the attire of a new character, Alex. For context, Logan is one of the main characters on the show and Alex is his brother. Park Eun-suk plays both of the characters. Logan's character went missing and his brother Alex came to Korea from America to find him. In the scene where viewers first meet Alex, we see character Shim Suryeon enter her house, and to her surprise, she finds her two children sitting on the couch surrounded by a group of black men with one Korean man standing beside them. The kids try to stand up, but they are shoved back down. Suryeon asks the men who they are and how they got into her house. The camera then cuts to Alex, who's wearing locks with grills in his teeth, leopard print clothing, gold chains on his neck, and tattoos visible on his skin. Alex speaks to Suryeon in English using what appears to be a black accent while he interrogates her about possibly killing his brother.
But shit, you really have to go that far? Yo, my parents, they're already on trial. My parents, they're already paying for their mistake. So why the Logan have to go and die like that? You call this revenge?
Mind you, this strange man with his posse just waltzed into her home, uninvited, and is now accusing her of murdering his brother while cursing at her, yelling at her, and banging around her home decor. Alex is obviously meant to be seen as a rough, threatening character in comparison to his brother, who has short, straight hair and is usually seen in a suit. When the issue with Alex's character was called out a few months ago, it was labeled as cultural appropriation, and the actor posted this Notes app statement to TikTok in response. Regarding the drama Penthouse character Alex, I'd like to let everyone know that none of the appearances that were driven by the character was falsely intentional to harm, mock, disrespect, or discourage the African American community. I'd like to apologize to the people who took offense by the character's appearance. It was more admiration of the culture than mockery, but I'm not aware that the approach was more CA. It was a wrong attempt for character development. Again, I'd like to apologize to those who took offense. I, as a minority myself, should have known better. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to grow in awareness. I hope you have the sincerity in your hearts to give the benefit of the doubt that Alex's appearance was rather a character approach who admired the culture and wanted to be like, not intentionally portraying mockery. He captioned the TikTok, "Please take time to read," and in the background, a muted song titled "Everything Sucks" by Vault Boy was played. Many were critical of the actor's statement, from the social media platform he chose to post it on, to him claiming Alex's character was quote-unquote admiration of the culture. People were also disappointed as the cast of Penthouse had recently participated in a campaign to end racism. Although Eun-suk did not participate, it should be noted that the campaign was for the recent hate crimes that arose due to the cough going around, not general racism. Now, my personal opinion on the situation, I'm gonna work backwards, starting from the apology. When I saw the TikTok statement, I laughed, because I thought it had to be a joke. First of all, the discourse about Alex's character started on Instagram, so the conversation should have been finished on Instagram, if nowhere else. Why did he post his apology to the African American community on TikTok when his apology to the Korean community is still on his Instagram feed from when he was accused of irresponsibly abandoning his pets? We're not good enough for a feed post too? That aside, what really made me laugh was the content of his statement. I'm not going to sit here and break down everything because there's no point. What I will point out though is that if you're apologizing for something, you should probably spell it out. I don't know when we started calling cultural appropriation CA. Even when I checked the comments when he first posted the statement, so many people were asking, what is CA? What is CA? There's no reason for that. What really took me out was him saying it was more admiration of the culture. How is portraying a violent caricature of African Americans admiring the culture? I'm very tired of people pulling out this line when they're very explicitly doing the opposite. Aside from the responsibility of taking on an acting role, I believe he was most likely part of the creative process for Alex's character. In a previous interview where he spoke about another role he played in the drama, he said he enjoyed being able to create a character, especially someone very different from who he was naturally, with him using props like fake teeth and a wig for his character Ho-dong.
I see. And for your other character, Logan, on Penthouse, it's recently very popular. Was there anything fun or difficult about using the props to make the character, such as the teeth, the wig, mustache, everything like that?
You know, it's always kind of fun for, I think, an actor to create a character, especially if its appearance is very different from.
It's very unique.
Because usually actors get to play roles that they're fit for, or they look for, a look-alike or whatever. But in this case, you have to play something opposite. You have to hide your features, and and I think that was a really great experience for me. It was also kind of theatrical, also because you would probably do something like that in theater,
Yes.
Like heavy makeup and totally like complete change up. But in broadcasting, it was kind of first time for me, so it was very fun.
얼마 전에 실검 1위 올라갔다고.
등장 때문에 제가 지금 하는 캐릭터가 이미지 변신을 많이 했거든요.
이렇게 망가지는 역할을
네.
과감히 택하는 거 쉽지 않았을 텐데.
배우가 이 캐릭터라는 게 확신하잖아요.
그럼.
아, 과감하게. 아, 이거 내가 하고 싶다. 내가 언제 이런
분장까지 싹 뜯어 고쳐가지고.
싹 해가지고 이빨까지 치과에 가가지고 저랑 이제 치과 의사랑 상의해가지고 이 모양도 다 만들고 모양 들고 가서 저희 분장팀에 가서 좀 약간 썩은 것처럼 디자인하자 해서 하고 가발도 여러 군데 가서 써보고 그 가발도 실제 미용실 가서 커트를 다 하고 자연스럽게 사투리까지 이제 하고 의상도 역행하는 패션을
레트로.
근데 레트로도 간지가 날 수 있다. 의상 실장님이랑 이런 느낌 하면서 이 캐릭터를 만드는데 너무 재밌었어요. 저는 항상 그 효자손을 들고 다니거든요.
드라마에서?
이건 분신이다. 호동이가 나오면 항상 손엔 이게 있어야 되는 그 설정도 이렇게
Eun-suk is also Korean American. He grew up in Long Island, New York from the age of 7 and attended college there. Having taken acting lessons in Manhattan as well, it's very difficult to play the ignorance card for him in this situation. Although this Alex debacle was the first time Penthouse was called out at such a large scale, it wasn't the first instance of racism on the show. Rather, it was really just a part of a pattern shown throughout the entire series. I had to show some spoilers with mild violence to explain this, so if you'd like to skip this section, please click on the appropriate timestamp below. In season 1 of Penthouse, pregnant Shim Soo-yeon stands by her fiancé who plays the piano until he is shot in the head, blood pouring everywhere, and 2 men rain bullets throughout their house. When the shooters are shown, you can see that they're black, especially from the one who has locks. In walks Dante, who hired the men to kill Soo-yeon's partner so he could be with her instead. Once again, in season 1, we see black people being used to carry out unjust physical violence when Min Sola is being bullied by the kid she's tutoring. Sola is pushed into the pool, which is where she has a flashback to when she was with her adoptive family and was pushed into the pool by the henchmen. Sola's parents adopted her solely to provide bone marrow for their sick son. Once the transplant was complete, her adoptive parents set her up to look like a thief so they could disown her and wouldn't have to give her inheritance. In season 2, Dr. Ha, who's a neurosurgeon, is kidnapped from his hotel room and beaten up by 3 men who are once again black. They purposely damage his hands so he can't perform surgery anymore and throw him into the water. We find out that it was Dante who hired the men to assault Dr. Ha for hooking up with his now fiancée, who was Dr. Ha's ex-wife. Then in season 3, we meet Alex, who has an entire team of black henchmen to help intimidate his suspect. The issue of using blackness solely for violence becomes even clearer when you compare instances with Alex to those with Logan. When Logan confronts another character for betraying him for money, the man is pulled away by white men, reflecting the seemingly moral nature of Logan's stance.
Take him away. 미안해. 잘못했어. 안 돼.
Logan, who is positioned as the hero throughout the series, has white people to carry out what is deemed right, versus his brother Alex, who is portrayed as a thug who uses black people to unfairly intimidate the innocent. We see this again when Logan's family suspects Surion for trying to kill him. White men come in to take her away, which is seen as serving justice. Throughout the series, you see black people being used to carry out the violent, unjust acts, but when someone is rightfully punished, white people are used to take them away. Portraying black people this way is very deliberate, as it statistically doesn't make sense that in South Korea, most of your henchmen wouldn't be Korean. It's ironic because when black people ask why we aren't represented positively in K-dramas like white people are, we're told there simply aren't enough black people available to play the roles. But as you can see, they sure know how to find plenty of black people when it's time to hurt someone. Penthouse is only one example of many K-dramas to portray black people in such a negative light. Actor and TV personality Sam Mochiri spoke about how in his early days of working as an extra in Korea, while trying to make extra money as a student, they would always cast him to play violent and often criminal roles.
The truth is that, at that time, you're a student, you need the money. So I did a few jobs here and there, and it was always very weird roles. Like they would say, oh, because you're black, they want you to be the gangster. They want you to go and snatch somebody's bag. They want you to wear baggy clothes and I said, the truth is that that's not me. It's not representative of who I am. But that was all they knew, right? And that was all they wanted to channel. And I thought to myself, well, these guys are gonna pay me, so I have to do what they want me to do. And that really stayed at the back of my head, and I really wanted to change that.
We can't ignore the fact that constantly portraying black people as violent criminals in your media doesn't have real consequences, even in South Korea.
I'm not necessarily a smaller guy, and so there was one time actually that I was actually leaving the gym, minding my own business, and I literally get tackled by 3 cops.
What?
And I had no idea what was going on. I was walking down the street, I was jamming in my own world, and then all of a sudden I just feel like 3 guys on me. They didn't take me down, so from the 4th one got on me, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And at first I thought, okay, well maybe this has got to be a mistake. So they literally handcuff me and throw me in the back of a little Lego car police cruiser.
Without saying anything?
Without saying anything. And I was like, would someone like to explain exactly what's going on? They're like, oh, well they accused me of actually, getting into a fight with some gentleman that, I didn't even know there was a fight. I literally just walked right past it. And so they literally got me to the police box, and I'm still sitting there, and I'm trying to remain as calm as possible, because again I was just in a state of shock, I think. And so finally they bring the guy that had been attacked, I guess. They brought him down there, and they were pointing like, is this the guy that attacked you? And then he looked at me, he was like, this is not the guy that attacked me. This guy doesn't even look like that guy. And like, okay, what did he look like? They were just like, well, he was a brown guy. Like, can you be more specific than that?
Wow, that's very specific.
And at the same time, and the funny thing is that the police were actually really seriously thinking that this guy was they're like, oh, well, you got hit, maybe you can't remember, like, exactly what he looked like.
Trying to force a case on
me. Right, trying to force a case on me, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, okay, there's one or two things I can do here. Either I'm gonna just sit here and get some free coffee and let them figure this out, or I'm literally gonna lose, my mind and just, start wrecking shit. Of course, it took the previous.
Otherwise, we would not be here.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't be here, right?
Penthouse was streamed on Korean network SBS to millions of people. It wasn't the network's first time pulling this kind of stunt. In 2017, a comedy sketch was aired with a woman in blackface wearing beaded braids, a cheetah print shirt, and a makeshift cabbage skirt while she danced to the Lion King, very clearly mocking African people. After facing backlash for the racist skit, SBS issued a statement apologizing for any quote-unquote inconvenience caused to viewers and deleted the scene. Last year in 2020, SBS was called out again for another one of their K-dramas, Backstreet Rookie. In the series, black people from Jamaica and Nigeria were mocked for comedic relief. And this same character, who was known as the Jamaica-obsessed quote-unquote reggae boy, was shown with bugs flying around his hair, perpetuating the stereotype that locked hair is dirty. Despite pushback, SBS never issued a statement addressing these racist depictions. Fast forward to 2021, and once again, we are facing the exact same issue with SBS. So what's it gotta give for their annual minstrel show to finally be brought to an end? Or should we expect another one next year? When you see black people complain about the racism and lack of positive representation in K-dramas, please understand that we are not only upset about the individual events, but also at the reoccurring issue that seems to have no end in sight. Despite our complaints, it only seems to get worse. Anyways, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Also leave your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon.